Boy, this fool got more comics than a motherfucker.
Ready?
Hello! Welcome to MCMF, the podcast where I try to get you, dear reader, into the magical world of comic books. Joining me on this episode to talk about the X-Men story Schism, it's my very good friend Pincente. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about Scott Summers, my favorite person in the whole world.
Scott Summers, who is always right.
Yeah, he's never done anything wrong in his life except for everything in issue 5. But other than that,
he's usually correct about things.
Russell Westbrook, a superhero, is a really good volume shooter. Once you get him going, he's good, but he can look real bad when he looks bad.
Scott Summers, who looks real bad in October and November and then gets real hot in February, inexplicably.
The Aaron Rodgers, the Russell Westbrook volume shooter. Aaron Rodgers, Scott Summers caught in the crosshairs of the woke mob.
The woke mob read as Wolverine.
Yeah, that's it.
So we're talking about Schism, which, in hindsight, we probably should have done this episode before versus X-Men, but this is kind of the direct precursor to that story. It details the split between Cyclops and Wolverine, what led to the franchise-wide event Regenesis, causing the X-Men to split in two halves, with half the X-Men going to the island nation of Utopia with Scott, and the other half splitting off to the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning in Westchester, New York, which is the rebuilt Xavier School. We'll get into it. So this event triggers a reset for the line, where the original Uncanny X-Men, which had run since the 1960s, ends, and ends with issue 544 after this, and begins again the next month with Uncanny X-Men number 1 and Wolverine and the X-Men number 1, respectively. So last episode we talked a lot about Cyclops and how he's right. This story is, I say he's still probably right, but Wolverine is also right. It's a situation where I think that we'll get into it, but the strength of this story is that it portrays both of their points of view as valid.
Yeah, that's it kind of what we set up about him is true. A lot of the story is about leadership and about how difficult that is. And if you read the prelude to the story, like that is what the prelude's about. It's about Scott coming to terms with being a leader and making decisions. And I think mostly what you're reading about is two dudes with a decision to make and how they come about to that, choice and how other people are affected by that choice.
Yeah. And these are two guys who have always been diametrically opposed to each other. Scott's always been the leader as it pertains to the two of them, going all the way back to the 70s. Then when Scott left the X-Men, Storm as the leader. Wolverine is never really placed in that role. But he and Scott butt heads a lot in the 70s and kind of get over it by the 90s. And then are kind of at odds with each other again at the beginning of the 2000s. This story came out in 2011. And they've just been kind of 1 and 2 for a long time at this point. And Wolverine is basically sick of it. And more accurately, he's sick of Scott. Because Scott does things that Logan doesn't like. He makes decisions. Go ahead.
Yeah, choices. No. Yeah, what you're saying is correct about them being opposite. It's also a lot of something to keep in mind if you do read the story and when you go through it is that with Scott and Wolverine, Scott's the guy who should be the leader just by his natural qualities. But
Right.
There's something that Wolverine has that makes you want to follow him, and ultimately that's kind of the guy you should listen to, is the guy who doesn't want to be a leader, but he absolutely has to because he's the best person for it.
Right. He's the thinker, he's the tactician in a lot of ways. He's the plans guy. He's the guy you can put out there and have him give a speech to the UN. He is Charles Xavier's... He was Charles's first X-Man. He has been molded by Charles Xavier to be the perfect spokesperson for mutant kind. But Wolverine's natural charisma and the fact that he's the guy who is willing to throw himself before anyone else, he throws himself at the problem, makes people want to follow him. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, we'll go in circles about it forever. But another thing about Wolverine too, in this story, and especially just as his disposition, is that he doesn't have to be Scott's opposite. Like, he could very much fall in. He chooses to because he just vehemently believes that he's wrong. Like what every reader of every X-Men story ever thinks about Scott Summers is that most people. Or Wolverine disagrees with that inherently. Like, he just goes, this guy's wrong. There's something about him. And that all stems from the fact...
Oh, no, go ahead.
That all stems from the fact that Scott was hitting what Wolverine wanted. That's the only reason why Wolverine feels that way, is that Wolverine was horny and upset when he first moved to Westchester.
Because that's... Yeah, if you go read Uncanny... Or I guess it would just been X-Men. X-Men 94. And just read the first 10 issues of the Claremont, Byrne, Cockrum stuff. Wolverine immediately doesn't really like Cyclops, and then he especially doesn't like him when he meets Jean. When Wolverine meets Jean, he very quickly develops feelings for her and is so fucking mad that she wants to be with Cyclops.
Yeah, that's everything. She's the main character of every X-Men story after she dies. That where Scott is the focus, where it's not about Kitty or where it's not about Magneto or Storm.
Right, because like in the 80s, Scott is as background as he can be. Jean's gone. Scott marries Madeline. He's gone for a while, and so those stories are about Storm. They're about Kitty. They're about Magneto. They're about Charles. They're about fucking Ileana. They're about all these different people. But then late 80s come around, Jean comes back, Scott comes back they form X Factor, and then when they rejoin the X-Men proper in the early 90s, Scott and Logan are right back to being at odds with each other, and all the stories that are about them are about Jean.
Yeah, that's also a Marvel Comics directive too, where like if you have a generally, and this started, the first person they did this to was Peter Parker. But if you have a generally milquetoast guy, you have to beat the fuck out of him. Like, you have to take everything he loves and make him watch it die, and that ultimately adds layers to the characters. It's why there's an infinite amount of more readable stories after Gwen dies for Peter.
Yes.
And the same thing goes for Scott once Jean dies, and then when she dies again, and when she dies again, and when she dies again. Scott gets infinitely more interesting because it's a layer of him that hardens him, and that influences so hard. He actively says, like, this is about you. What would you do? Several times throughout this book, because it is about her and what she would do.
And the thing is, too, is that Jean's deaths are never about Scott. Scott getting the added layers is a kind of a consequence of it. It's a natural thing that would happen. But Jean dying as Dark Phoenix is about Jean. Jean dying in the Morrison run is about Jean. Every time Jean dies, it is about her. Every bad thing that happens to her is about her. But because Scott is the one who's around after, since Scott's the one who remembers her, who knew her better than anybody, because it also affects, like, it'd be one thing if it just affected Scott. Like, Gwen Stacy dying affects Peter Parker and Mary Jane, and that's about it. But Gwen dying affects Scott, but it also affects Logan, but it also affects Aurora, but it also affects Kitty, but it also affects Rachel. It also affects Madeline Pryor retroactively. It is this core moment that affects a lot of different things, and it's always a moment of sacrifice. It's never a thing that is done to her. It's never Major Force shoving Kyle Rayner's girlfriend into a refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's like Jean going, hey, I'm way too powerful, and this power will make me kill everyone alive. I have to go. because I can't be here. Because I am a living, walking danger to every living being in existence. I am a cosmic terror, you know?
Yeah, I don't think there's many people as influential for the X-Men. Like any of the names you mentioned there, like Storm, Ilana, Kitty, Wolverine. If any one of them goes down, obviously it affects everybody. And whenever they do die or whenever they are displaced, whatever you want to call it, it does affect everybody. But there's something about Jean, considering that she's always positioned as like the quarterback. If she's there, she's the leader of the team. If she's alive, she's important. She's in charge. She's
right.
The
she
face
was the
for
most
public,
powerful
right?
X-Men on that second Genesis team with her, like the post Giant Size X-Men team.
Yeah.
Cyclops, Phoenix, Storm, Wolverine. I almost said Sunfire, but he quits immediately.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
I gotta go hang out with Tony Stark for some reason.
I gotta go home. I gotta let this lady feed me grapes.
Oh yeah, that's. I remember that now.
Sunfire in the '70s, who's just hanging out at home in a kimono. That's my guy.
He's. I don't want to be here no more. I mean, he's Andrew Luck of.
Yes.
Like my neck sucks. Going home.
I got dropped on that stack of dimes I call a neck. But yeah, she is explicitly stated to be the most powerful X-Man, and Scott's the leader. But Scott's the leader because we need somebody to tell everybody where to point and shoot.
Yeah.
But hey, enough about. We're gonna talk a lot about Jean going forward in this episode, so let's just get right into the meat and potatoes of it. We're not gonna get too much into the tie-ins. I'm gonna kind of reference them here and there, but. The tie-ins for this are a couple issues of Generation Hope, which is the book that centers Hope Summers and her team. Who, fun fact about them, which I always forget until I am like looking at them, they are like their power sets. They are supposed to be archetypal of the original 5 X-Men.
I'm picturing the team in my head, and I think you're right, aren't they?
Yeah. EDA is Iceman. Lori is Angel. Primal Tion is the Beast, and Zero is Jean, which makes
okay.
Hope by
There
default
you go.
Cyclops, which actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, that's a cool little parallel there. I probably read that book all the time growing up, and when it was coming out, and I never made that connection.
Yeah, because like you wouldn't think too hard about it. The one that's really in your face is EDA, but everybody else, it's kind of, you got to really think about it.
Yeah, she's my favorite. I should always say that she's my favorite. Anything she does is great. They don't use her enough. They were doing so well with her, and they don't use her enough. Push EDA.
Yeah, she rules, and I'm glad that she has a better code name than the first one she picked.
What's her code name now?
Her code name now is Oya, but her first one was the girl who wouldn't burn, and it's like, what the fuck?
I remember that.
Was with Marvel and giving characters these terrible fucking code names in the mid 2000s. Like
that would have been a cool book title. I'd buy that as a book title. If that was her running,
Okonkwo, the girl who wouldn't burn. Yeah, that fucks as a title for a thing, but for a field code name, that sucks. It's like in Runaways, when Carolina's original code name is Lucy in the Sky, which good reference. It's clunky. It doesn't work. Your code name's got to be 1 to 2 words.
Can't really shout that out. You can't even shorten that.
Right, you shorten it to Lucy or LSD or something.
Yeah, that's not great.
Not great.
The girl who couldn't burn is brutal, though. I don't remember that at all. Thank God, though. Maybe I blocked it out.
I think they do it for like 2 issues. I think she calls herself that and then settles on Oya. So this issue opens with Wolverine showing back up on Utopia. Just a fucking walking pincushion. He has all manner of arrows and shuriken sticking out of him. Wolverine was supposed to teach combat training for Hope's team, the Lights, that day. And goes, Who the fuck decided that? Cyclops? Huh.
Okay.
He's like, I wish Scott would talk with me about these things before we did these things. And he says to Idia, how old are you? She's like, I'm 14. Shouldn't you be off playing with dolls or something instead of worrying about combat training? I want to point this out because this page is one of my favorites just ever. Because she looks at him blank, says, I had a doll once, made from pretty beads. I lost it when they tried to burn me for being a witch. Did you have many toys when you were 14? And Wolverine looks at her in like... not disgust, that's not the right emotion, but he looks at her like, God damn, kid.
What's great about this too is that like that's so uncalled for, but it's absolutely like what he deserves for talking. Has he not met a fucking 14-year-old in 100 years? They don't play with dolls, man. Like he's been around children his whole life. He shouldn't be
saying
stupid
Did Kitty play
like
with
that.
dolls when you were raising her?
Well, no, and then there's a line where she looks at him in the prelude where it's like, well, when I was her age, I was playing with a sword. So people put him in his place immediately about his expectations for EDA. But I thought that was such a funny thing to go like to insult her because either he didn't know that 14-year-olds play with dolls and he's the oldest idiot in the world, or he was trying to insult her. And then she just goes, I've seen so many horrible things. Do you want to talk about them? And then he has nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it comes off like Wolverine, it's very interesting because Wolverine, by this point, is just, he thinks that these kids should not be fighting. That's his major ethos through this story, is that he's like, why the fuck are we sending these kids out to fight? And it's like, Logan, the world is going to, Scott's point the whole time is, the world is always going to try and hurt these kids. So all we can do is make sure that they're ready for it. And Logan feels like we shouldn't have to do that at all. Which he's correct about, but that's not the world you live in.
Yeah, and it's also something to keep in mind about this era of Wolverine is that he's with the Luke Cage New Avengers at this time.
Right, Luke Cage and Spider-Man and...
Yeah, it's Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Jessica Jones, The Thing, it's Doctor Strange, Iron Fist. It's the funniest team in the world.
Yeah, the team that buys Avengers Mansion for $1. Yeah,
for $1 from Tony Stark. He's splitting time in the mansion and Utopia, so he's living in some fucked up places.
Yeah.
And at that point, Avengers is like a bigger organization than it is now and that it is at sometimes. They also have the Avengers Academy, and he's seeing it there. And from like his perspective, adjacent to this story in New Avengers, they're like, a lot of that story is about, kind of people maturing and coming of age. And he's hanging out with Peter Parker more. And Peter Parker, it talks about how he should not have been doing the shit he was doing at 16. So there's a lot about Wolverine that's becoming softened around this time just by nature of he's working with the government. He's teaching kids. He's around kids all more, in a different kind of environment than the school was. He's starting to see them more as people as opposed to soldiers and students. And
he's like,
it's changing the way he approaches everything.
He's like, yeah, what we're doing, this has always been fucked up.
Yeah, it's always been wrong. And shout out to Charles Xavier for having the worst idea ever, and then it ballooned on him when it went from 5 kids to 500. Good for him. I'm glad he thought ahead with his big bald head. Like, oh, I'm sure it'll just stay at 5. And then he thought, no, okay, we got to make
no foresight.
Children.
No foresight.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. The only thing he ever thought about, and if they talk about this in the prelude, was that just how much he loved Scott, and he's like, "This is my son. I'm gonna make you my son." Oh fuck! Like it just spirals out of control on him so hard, and he deserves what he got at the end of AVX.
Yeah, he kind of looks around and is like, "Shit, I made you into a second me."
Yeah, then I hate me, so that's God, so bad.
Oh fuck! I mean, because like a lot of things, especially after the turn of the millennium, retroactively make Charles Xavier the biggest dickhead in the world.
Yeah.
Like everything to do with Sage is just like, what's your fucking problem, Charles? Why did you do that?
Well, he too, like it's funny whenever he talks to Scott about being a pacifist, about trying to be an isolationist, when at this time he's in the Illuminati with Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, with like everything he's ever said to Scott Summers. And it's funny when Scott has a line where he goes, every piece of advice I've gotten from Charles Xavier has been wonderful. I just want a different perspective, when he was talking to Magneto. And it's like that's so funny that Scott has spent like 30 plus years of his life just being gaslit by this monster of a human being.
Keep
this
in mind
serial
too,
liar.
Yeah. Yes, pathological liar Charles Xavier,
Oh.
who, because of the Moira X retcon, comes off as an even bigger liar.
Yes. Dude, he just, like, he didn't have to be dishonest. They were already 16. You could just not tell them shit. You could just make a decision. And that's always the thing.
It's always an option.
Very side rant. This is always the side rant, is that he made zero good decision in his life, Charles Xavier, and ruined the world a little bit. And then the whole time he's doing this and causing all this pain for all these people, he could have, not made them an army. He could have kept them secret. He could have controlled their powers, done all this other shit, with that we've seen him go through. And he could, not only does he allow it to continue, but then he undermines them by working with Tony Stark, by working with Doctor Strange, by working with all these enemies in the Illuminati and working against the mutant self-interest constantly to benefit himself and to allow himself to live with this fake family. Like, the dude is beyond fucked.
Yeah. I mean, Charles Xavier, at his core, to me, he's just like, all right, well, my whole thing is this assimilationist view of like, well, if we're good to the humans, they'll be good to us. And it's like, fucking, you have no evidence for that, Charles. If anything, you have a mountain of evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, it's not like he was born in the 70s. The dude saw like all the horrible shit in the world that happened.
He's a veteran of the Korean War.
Yeah, like he's been alive through all of the bad shit that people are still alive to remember, and he's like, this time it'll be different.
It'll be different.
Yeah. They didn't like people of different colors, but wait till they see someone who's fucking blue, a guy with wings, an ice guy who's also homosexual. I bet they'll fucking love him. They'll
love this gay little snowman.
Yeah. Dude, look, he's naked. Don't you fucking love him? Like, he didn't think about anything.
And there's a girl.
He's hot. And there's a girl. One girl. Just one, for now. And like, yeah, for him to, to constantly spell that. I'm also not a big Magneto guy either. I think they're, it's not even a centerist position. I think they're both just functionally wrong.
Yeah, I like Magneto a lot, but...
As a character to read, yes.
Yes, as a character to read, but it's like, he's kind of fucked. You know who's right a lot of the time? Emma.
Yes, all the time. Well, Magneto's an elite level idiot because he's just like, it's so sad that Magneto is all elite moron. He'll talk about like, oh, it's so sad, all the persecution and all this stuff. Now let me go hit this genocide button real quick.
Let me drop a meteor on Earth.
People. Yeah, let me go enslave these people. Let me go kill like 1 billion mutants or something. Like, the guy is functionally
out of his mind.
Like, he can't not be stupid. He tried. The only times he's not done something really stupid is when he's actively worked with the X-Men and Charles Xavier.
Yeah, when he was,
and Charles Xavier is adjacently incorrect too. So they're both just fucking idiots.
When he was running the school in the 80s, that might be best Magneto.
Dude, Magneto could have settled down to be a principal. Instead, he tries to, ethnic cleanse every 5 years. Like, dude, you're fucking. It's not. Not only are you wrong, but you're fucking bad at it. Like, you've been stalked by 16-year-olds. Like,
all the time.
Dude, how are you the most powerful person in the world and you can't fucking kill like 1,000 people easily without a 16-year-old fucking your day up? Like, dude, just get good at something. And the only thing he was ever good at was standing next to Charles Xavier and being a substitute dad when Charles was tired or going to go fuck somebody and not raise the kid.
When Scott was when Charles was in Shi'ar space, fucking Princess Elandra. It's like, all right, Eric. I leave the keys of school to you.
Tag in, brother.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah.
House is light, brother. You gotta jump in for a second match.
You ever had Shi'ar pussy, Charles?
Charles, I told you can't handle them.
You can't handle it, Charles. We're the future, not them. Okay, so anyway, Logan and Scott have to go to an international arms control conference in Switzerland and talk before this conference. Logan is Scott's one-man security team, and they have this really good heart-to-heart on their way in. And Logan just tells me, he's like, look, you and I haven't always seen eye to eye. We've been fighting the world to change for a long time and haven't done it yet. Why should today be any different? And Scott's perspective is, well, people change, and we get this cool little flashback from like it's a redrawn panel of a scene from like X-Men number 95 or some shit. It's pretty cool. Nobody American shows up, and we get this great little line from Logan where he says, "I've been trying to tell you for years we should move to Canada."
Yeah. Fuck yeah, let's go. Move the X-Men to Toronto. We can handle it. We can't handle the World Cup, but I think we can handle the X-Men. We'll be okay.
You get the X-Men, but you gotta trade one Toronto sports team. Who is it, and why is it the Leafs?
Fuck the Leafs, bro. Fuck that shit. Fucking. Oh my god, fucking getting first round exit, $500 for standing room tickets for a game against fucking Nashville on a Thursday. Fuck them. Fuck them. They $200 for overtime I worked.
Fuck.
Cut that out. Cut that out. I still work for them. Cut that out.
Hold on, let me get the time on that.
No, don't worry. Fuck them.
Okay. All right. We're good. I'll cut that.
I'm getting promoted soon. Anyways. It's fine.
So don't cut that.
Censor it with the X-Men swoosh sound from the 90s cartoon.
Okay, you got it. So anyway, Scott thanks Logan for always being there, and he's like, "Look, when there's someone or somebody around worth following, I follow." He says, "That's probably the nicest thing you've ever said to me."
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Yeah, but judging by the sliding timescale of Marvel Comics, Scott and Logan have known each other for, what do you say, 10 years at this point? Maybe, yeah, because let's say Scott's in his early 20s when Logan joins the X-Men. I'd put Scott as like 35 here. I believe
when the X-Men run, I just read X-Men 67, which was when they stopped printing new stories and it was just reprints. Mm-hmm. And I believe they were 18 at the end of that story. I think they would just graduate high school. So yeah, 10 years, 15 years, that's probably like a good spot for it.
Because they used to age in real time and then they realized that was stupid. Very difficult. Scott gets up and gives a speech about Bolivar Trask and the creation of the Sentinels. And then is interstitched with, who is this mystery pink-haired man making these dudes fight each other? Who could this possibly be?
Every time you see Kid Omega after like a long time of not seeing him, it's like the scene in Lilo and Stitch where Stitch comes out of the spacesuit and he's like, he looks all terrifying and stuff. Like that's what it's just such a this little fucker, because I forgot he was the catalyst for this story, and I was like, this son of a bitch, he's back again to ruin somebody's life for no reason other than it'll make him laugh a little bit.
Yeah, he's just a real fucking dickhead. And then this guy, like a diplomat from it's unsaid what country it is, but it's the implication, I guess, is supposed to be some Middle Eastern country.
They made it sound like they wouldn't like Jewish people when Kitty Pryde saw them later.
Yes, and also he calls them, I have it as a note, he calls them genetic infidels?
Pretty sick, honestly.
Which is pretty crazy.
I'm going to use that in a wrestling promo one day. I'm going to call someone out just to see what happens. What if Hangman Page calls Bryan Danielson that?
That's a Scott Steiner line, if there ever was one.
Ric Flair!
The genetic infidel! Ric Flair!
I'm the genetic freak! You're the genetic infidel! Huh?
But he says, my country does not even acknowledge the existence of these so-called Sentinels. And Scott's like, listen, a Sentinel tried to kill me when I was 16. I fucking know what I'm talking about.
Sentinels also have been widely photographed.
Yes!
By this point, they've definitely been on the news at least once. They've attacked Times Square like probably 20 times. Like, no, they definitely exist, bro.
A Sentinel attacked Scott and Jean on Christmas Eve in 1975 in New York.
Yeah, that's such a weird political stance to take. Like, now they're not real. Like, what the fuck, dude? This picture, bro. Like, I don't know why Scott didn't just pull out a phone. Like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's such a funny way.
This is me and my dead wife being carried away by a Sentinel.
Oh, just on Christmas exactly Eve. What EDA did, and just fucking like, oh, hey, this is me and my wife. This love my life getting attacked by Sentinel. She's dead now. How do you feel about that, you motherfucker? And then
you stupid piece of shit.
Stupid bitch, ruin my fucking life. Now I gotta think about my dead wife.
You sanctimonious son of a bitch.
You sanctimonious piece of shit. Make me think about my goddamn dead wife.
What? Yeah.
What?
Speaking of doing impressions.
What?
So Choir shows up and Scott looking at his woman goes, hey,
Hey!
fuck you, Choir, fuck you. Because they run after him, and he does a telepathic attack on everybody here that makes everybody start revealing their secrets.
These were great.
Yeah, the dude who was like, Sentinels aren't real is like, I beat my children. I do it
And I like it.
And I love it. I do it because I enjoy
I don't like it. I
love it, pal. This other guy's like, I'd like to say that I am currently cheating on my wife of 35 years while she slowly dies of leukemia. And
he will email it to all the major news
Yes,
organizations.
I'm emailing videos of me fucking women who aren't my wife to CNN.
Stood up and said, I'm slinging dick and I will prove it. I'm pussy, and he hit send to CNN.
Oh, God. This woman says, I would like to take this opportunity to list the various ethnic minorities I despise.
I wrote, this is fucked. I wrote in my notes, she looks like Charlotte Flair. It was the hair and, I don't know, man. It was the bone structure. She got the broad shoulders like Charlotte Flair does. I'm like, damn, this Charlotte's wilding in the UN.
My first note, it took me this long to write a note, which was, I can't believe writers have been trying so hard for years to, like, make you forget that Quentin Quire is the actual worst.
Yeah, there's something that this is not even an artistic thing. This has to be like a more marketing and just the thing about comic books that's so different than almost every other form of media is that you have to sort of just change perception for the sake of convenience, right? And for whatever reason, they decided that it was really convenient to have Quentin Quire be a recurring character who is seen in a positive light, that like characters that other people like are going to like him, and he's going to have girlfriends, and he's going to date, and he's going to be all this other stuff. It's very, very strange considering that he is just an elite level motherfucker. Like for
just a total bastard. He instigated a riot at Xavier's
several times. Like they joke about it, like, haha, like he did it all the time.
Like people got seriously hurt.
Yeah, he causes nothing but pain for no reason. Like that's the thing. If he had a goal, and we were just talking about stupid people. If he had a goal where Charles was to, unify people and he's going to keep secrets because he's trying to be a diplomat, right? If his goal is to, mutant superiority, well, Eric's going to kill a bunch of people. He just does it for the sake of fucking doing it. Like he's just a fucker. And
he's not even he's presented differently than a character like, let's say, Exodus, where Exodus, they never stop reminding you that Exodus is just a total motherfucker. That he's a fucking asshole. But Quire,
they don't want you to like him.
Right. Fucking Exodus is raising children into a cult. But when we see Quentin Quire, he's making jokes about how much he would love to terraform Mars for the flex of it.
Yeah, well, and oddly, his sort of whole identity is kind of proving Charles Xavier right in that, this is what happens when a kid is too powerful and doesn't know what to do with it, because part of the sadism or the anarchy of him is that he's a teenager going through puberty, and he's the most powerful person in any room he walks into, except for one, right? And so
except for the room where the Quiet Council sits, where he suddenly here's all these people who could totally kick my ass.
Yeah, exactly. And so with that unchecked sort of power and at that point in your life, you should not be given the keys to all-knowing, all-powerful psychic powers, because you'll do shit like this, like potentially cause a widespread hate attacks on his own people with little to no gain for him.
He's someone I saw someone make the point, Quentin Quire is an analog to every fucking school shooter, where he just does it just to do it because he can.
Yeah, it's the solution to his problems, but no one really knows what his problem is, and you never will know because it's not well thought out enough to.
Right, they're not interested in telling you. The only person who's ever interested in telling you that Quentin Quire fucking sucks and he's a piece of shit was Grant Morrison.
Yes. Yeah, which that's his writing style, right? Is to do things sort of differently than the average comic book writer, and that is
That's what they
making
do,
a
yeah.
character that's going to be around often be unlikable and
But
frustrate
just a total
people.
piece of shit, yeah.
Yeah, that's something he does, but just by nature of being different.
Yeah, that's what they do with that stuff. I will say that just moving forward a little bit, they don't present Choir here. Jason Aaron doesn't present Choir here as being like a person anyone wants to be around, or is really redeemable. That being said, Wolverine and the X-Men does try actively to like give Choir these interesting things, and he sucks, you know.
Yeah, they don't really rehab him. Like they don't really have him atone. They don't really have him
No.
apologize or become better. He just gets normalized, and it's
Right,
a
everyone
word that's
just gets
going on
used
so
to it.
much.
And
Yeah,
you,
it's
the
just like
reader, get
okay,
used to it.
whatever. Yeah, and that's what it was. I love Wolverine and the X-Men. I think that was a really good series. I think Jason Aaron, I like some of his writing, but that was always such a poorly thought out part of, and maybe it was by nature that it was more of a kid-friendly book and it was kind of more or a teenager-friendly book and it was more sort of casual, but they never really did any consequences with him. Like Storm should have just beat the fuck out of him for like 3 issues. There should have been no dialogue. Like those Batman Tom King issues where he would just fight Bane for like
Yeah.
3 issues and there'd be no dialogue. Like they should have had that where like he just gets beat up by all the young X-Men whose lives he's tried to. He never atoned. He never faced any consequences. He gets to live in a nice, dorm room with his good best friend Wolverine. Like he's just it's a very, very weird culmination of his story, and it's still continuing today.
Right, yeah. But to move on a little bit, Wolverine wants to go after Choir, but Cyclops wants to deal with whatever is happening in the room, and it's like, hey, be ready. And what they have to be ready for is fucking Sentinels!
Yeah, which just happened to make an appearance around this time after immediately after being told that they do not exist.
Yeah,
They're
Sentinels don't
outside
exist,
the
and then
door.
Scott and Logan have to fight a bunch of Sentinels.
Yeah, in that same room where they were told they don't exist. So that was a cool little irony piece for that diplomat there.
Yeah, and then Quentin Quire goes off on a fucking tirade because he's a little asshole. Quentin Quire is... Imagine every kid from like a fucking Xbox Live lobby 10 years ago, but also they have telepathic powers. That's Quentin Quire.
Quinn Quire says a lot of gamer words. Is that what you're trying to say?
That is exactly what I'm saying. If there's anybody who's a big fan of quote-unquote gamer words, it's Quentin Quire. Quentin Quire would call you slurs. He'd dig as far as he could go and find some old anti-Italian slurs.
Oh man. Yeah.
Just do it, because it's good.
And that's again just what a 16-year-old kid is they're just fuckers, except this one's powerful and happens to cause a lot of damage for a lot of people.
Right. So Logan wants to go after Quire. Scott is like, we gotta get back to Utopia because some shit's gonna pop off.
Point for Scott there. That's good. This is a good call. Right?
He's like, hey, this is not gonna be the only time we see Sentinels today. I'm positive of this. And then we see the source of the Sentinels, a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
We meet Cade Kilgore. Go ahead.
Well, it's not entirely the 12-year-old boy, but yeah, go ahead. You'll get into it.
Yeah. So Cade Kilgore, the son of the president of the Kilgore Arms Company, who has basically staged a hostile takeover of his father's company. I have here Cade Kilgore is a NXT 2013 name.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Cade
sure.
Kilgore is absolutely the name of somebody who would job out to Tyler Breeze on an early episode of NXT.
It was definitely Davey Richards' NXT tryout name. What?
What
You can't
was
tell me that it wasn't.
what was their name? Were they the American Pitbulls for that?
Did they even name them? I know they gave them
I
shitty
swear
names.
to God, they got a name, and it was
I'm
something
looking at
weird.
NXT names. I remember that Davey Richards fucked that up for them because he fucked up that backflip spot. That's all I remember from that. Oh, I can't find the names.
Let me see. American Wolves, NXT.
There's a 2013 article here. Oh, they were the American Pitbulls.
Yeah,
right?
the American Pitbulls. Yeah.
They didn't even try.
Nope. Shout out to Eddie Edwards though.
Yeah, we love Eddie Edwards. Davey, welcome back to wrestling. Please don't be a fucker this time.
Please don't.
Please. Nothing was funnier.
Show up to all your bookings this time, Davey.
Nothing was funnier than when he announced he's coming back and Eddie Edwards just posted like the anxious emoji 3 times on his Twitter. He was just like, that's the man who likes him the most and still fucking hates this guy. It's poor Davey.
Oh, what a fucker.
Yeah, you've earned it.
We cut back to Utopia and kind of the Utopia inner circle, as it were. Inner circle town hall.
Wait, who's Chris Jericho?
Cyclops.
Man.
No, well, actually, I mean, look around. Who's the biggest dickhead here? It's Namor. Namor is Chris Jericho in this analogy.
Yeah, Namor's Chris Jericho. What have I become?
Wolverine is the smallest, so that makes him Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara. Does that make Cyclops and Emma Santana and Ortiz?
What does that imply about their relationship?
I don't know. I don't want to think about what that implies.
I wish Eric was Jake Hager's. I mean, Eric would talk less, but that's the way things are.
But basically, Emma's like, I'm gonna whoop this little twerp's ass. She says she's going to liquefy his brain and have him blow it out his nostrils like a snot-nosed toddler.
I think that's really cool that she said that. I think that's a cool thing that Emma does when she drops the regality of her when she's just around people she trusts.
Oh, when Emma's just a mean lady from Boston?
Yeah,
she's the best.
She's real aggressive, real kind of. I think I need that in my life, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I need that.
The fuck out of me.
I
don't want them to do it.
But I need the threat of it.
Thought out there. Yeah, the threat of it. That's it exactly. I just need the thought in the air. I think it would help me a lot.
Keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, just keep me off the streets.
So Kitty gets a doll for Wolverine to give to Idiot because he's still hung up on this doll thing because he doesn't realize that this is a 14. She's 14, not 8.
Yeah, I don't think he knows the difference.
Nah, you know what? Logan's like 200 fucking years old. I don't think he knows.
Can he even fathom the thought of being 14? Right, like that's the thing. Like I think 14 is a concept more than it is an actual practice at this point in his long life.
Yeah. So Wolverine and Idiot eat some ice cream together. It's very nice. What the fuck is with Hope on this next page?
Oh, okay. I noticed. I didn't write it down, but I remember. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, what the fuck is up with Hope? Why is her face like that?
Why is her face like that? She's wearing like a spaghetti strap top? But the one of the straps is like hanging down.
Yeah,
like, what
they didn't have
is
to draw
this?
her this provocatively. Like, and it was another weird thing about it. You don't like. I couldn't tell like how bad it was until like a page or two later. When they draw her, you see fully what she's wearing because she's standing in like a group shot. But it's like, they made her look like she was naked. They made her look like she was, and in that shot is Emma Frost, which we could talk about her. But yeah, they made her look like she was naked for some reason. Going to go talk to Scott Summers. It was a real weird way to draw a
I'm gonna go talk to my grandpa.
I'm gonna go all boned up for some reason. Like she was fired up. You know what? She was impressing Magneto. That's what it has to be.
Whoa.
Yeah, that would cause a... Well, it wouldn't put it past him.
Magneto's got the weirdest list of love interests maybe ever.
His whole family life is hilarious.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. Just with his kids and not being around and then having... He's that thing's got around. Magneto belongs to the streets more than most X-Men do, actually.
Yeah. Magneto was fucking rogue for a while.
Oh god, why do I always forget about it because I block it out of my mind.
Yeah. Also, who's the artist on this? Because Magneto looks real old here. Carlos Pacheco. we get the shot of Magneto, who looks fucking ancient. He looks like Larry David here. What the fuck?
Yeah, he doesn't have eyes in the group shot.
Like, some artists draw, like, especially, like, kind of current artists, draw Magneto to look... He just looks like a hot old man now. You know, he's just like...
He's a silver fox.
Yeah, he's a fucking silver fox. Here, he looks like fucking Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek 2009.
Yeah, no, they drew him. He looks way too old to be walking around. And
Yes,
that would have been a cool plot point if, like, at that point he was just like riding magnetic waves to get around, and that was his wheelchair.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. He's still very much an athlete. He's still got those ripped pectorals.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the face and the disconnect was, if it's a mutant thing. But also on this page is Emma Frost.
Yeah, you want to get into Emma's costume here?
You know what? Maybe we should yell at artists more for the way they draw women.
Yes.
Maybe I'm changing. Maybe certain people on Twitter are correct, and we should always harass people about this, because if it gets this to not happen anymore, not that I'm not exactly complaining, but I don't know how I feel about it. It makes me feel weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, all three. So on this page are Rogue, Hope, and EDA, who all of them have an exposed midriff. EDA is explicitly 14.
Yes.
Hope is 16 here, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. Were they not the same age?
No. EDA is explicitly the youngest member of the team.
Yeah, you're right.
So she's younger than everybody else. I want to say Hope, Gabriel, and Laurie and Tion are all supposed to be like 16, 17. Also, again, I said this in the Avengers vs. X-Men episode. They cannot decide how fucking tall Hope is. Like, sometimes she's like eye to eye with Cyclops, and other times she is, like now, she is eye to eye with EDA, who is noticeably shorter than everyone else. Like, her face looks simultaneously 15 and 25. What's with Hope here?
Yeah, that's got to be a difficult thing to do, anyways, is to draw like
A young woman.
Yeah, it's there's got to be a lot of thought, I bet, that goes into it, and either it, you know, and I think especially when it comes to faces, because like there is a difference between your face when you're like 15 to when you're 20.
Oh yeah, I look at a picture of me when I was 17. It's like, who is this person?
Yeah, my whole head shape's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Right? At that point in my life, like it's just different, right? And you start to come into your own, once you hit like 21, 22, right? But with drawing characters, that's got to be really, really difficult. It was but with Hope, yeah, and even it didn't get any better when she was drawn mainly by Humberto Ramos for the next 5 years in Wolverine and the X-Men, who his whole deal is that he draws weird looking shit. So you never really get a good, like, definitive, like, oh, this is Hope, what she looks like, her height comparatively to this character, this is her costume. Like, she was always drawn like abstract until like Avengers versus X-Men. And at this point in this story, they still really didn't know how they were drawing her. A lot of this era is like very strange Hope pictures and stuff. Even Generation Hope, she was inconsistent at times.
Yeah. Which is double weird because she's on page with Pixie, who always looks like Pixie.
Yeah. But Emma here.
Get into
Man. Like, so, all right. If you're not gonna read it, or if you don't have it in front of you, it's issue 1 of Schism, or issue 2, excuse me. It's page 30. If you're using nefarious means, and so most of this frame is Wolverine's bicep, Scott Summers' ass, and Emma Frost's boobs. Like, and her boobs are bigger than everyone.
Actually, this is issue 1.
This is issue 1?
This
Okay.
is issue 1, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So her boobs are bigger than everyone else in the world. Like, she's mostly.
It's like they drew
here.
Scott's head twice.
I honestly, like, I'm looking at it now. I think you could move her boob over the head, and I think Scott's head would disappear. Like, she is all hanger-bangered out here, and I just think
just hammered.
We could just, like, ain't she cold, man? It's like, they've got air conditioning out there. Like,
they're out there in the ocean. That breeze is gotta kill her.
That's the joke about San Francisco. You got to carry a light sweater with you whenever you go because you never know when it's going to drop to like way too cold to be dressed the way Emma Frost is dressed, and she's allowed to dress that way. It's more of the art style. Like are they that big? She's got a small frame, man. Does her back hurt? Is she okay?
I mean, it's explicit. It's stated in, I couldn't tell you when, but it's stated in one comic that Emma's got a great plastic surgeon. She paid a lot of money for her nose, so
Do you think she chose that life?
I feel like, given the information that we have gotten about her, it's a possibility.
Man, it's so in character. Good for her. God bless her. I'm glad she's feeling that way. I'm glad she's happy with the surgeon she found. I know that's difficult to find, but when it comes to the artistic choice, like I wish I was kidding when I said it was like the page is mostly her boob. It's mostly her boobs. The page is that's not my fault, by the way. I'm not looking there. I can't not look there.
Yeah.
You can't look at EDA. You have to look all the way to EDA, who's the leftmost part of the frame, to not see Emma Frost's boob.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do about this?
We're gonna move on.
Okay.
So they see Sentinels on TV. They're like, that's probably fucking bad. And so Scott tells Emma to get on Cerebra and make sure everyone with a functioning X gene saw this. And Storm says, I mean, this is probably just posturing. And Scott's like, but what if it's not? Well, let's just be
another
ready.
point. Another point for Scott. What if it's not? What are you gonna do then?
The dude who was like, there are no such thing as Sentinels, is now standing in the palm of a Sentinel, decrying the unwanted influence of what he refers to as genetic infidels.
He gave his State of the Union address while standing in the palm of a Sentinel.
Yeah.
And I think that's something. I don't know what the equivalent would be in the real world, but I think we need to figure that shit out. Like, I don't know. Joe Biden sitting like straddled on
it's him
warhead.
I was gonna say it's when you remember when DX came back in 2009 and Triple H is like straddling they came out on the tank and Triple H is standing with the
when they killed WCW.
No, not that time with the because in '99 that was the Jeep when they came back after Shawn was gone for most of 2009. Yeah. And then they come back at SummerSlam, and Triple H is standing on the tank with the gun between his legs.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see a politician do that. I'd like, remember when Alexa Bliss sat on Randy Orton in that one match? And
his wife got super mad.
Yeah, I want to see them do that. I want to see a politician give an address, warning another nation, and then do the slow sit down like she did, and then
she just
sit on like a weapon.
God, what pay-per-view was that? Do you remember?
It was the one before Mania, so was it Fastlane? Fastlane 2020?
No, that was this year. That was definitely this year.
2021. It's a flat circle. Yeah, it was. Let me see here. I'm looking at the results of Fastlane. Alexa Bliss beat Randy Orton by pinfall. Yeah, that was Fastlane 2021.
Yeah, and she pins him by fucking him. Like,
yeah, she won that night.
Like, she just sits down and straddles him. It's so weird.
She didn't have to, but
she didn't have to do it that way. And also, the Fiend is standing behind. I just looked at the gun.
Dude, okay, if the Seth match didn't kill the Fiend, if her squirting the black goo didn't kill the Fiend,
this killed the Fiend.
I promise you, the Fiend getting cucked by Randy Orton, man. Him just sitting there and he was, and the Fiend had that stance where he was a little hunched over too, right? He didn't stand up with good posture, so he just looks so cucked there in Fastlane in front of the screens. Alexa's in her costume that I don't really makes me comfortable,
Oh, where she's a 30-year-old woman who is dressing like a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, the age regression stuff, and the best part about that whole angle is that why would Randy not tell his wife that they were going to do that?
I would like to believe that Randy Orton kayfabes his family.
Oh, kayfabes family? He must know her well enough to know it wasn't going to go well.
Yeah, but I think that Randy Orton is enough of a crazy ass white boy to just not tell his family. Because he thinks it's funny.
Yeah, maybe he knew the Twitter was gonna be worth it. You know.
Yeah.
The Fiend was standing there looking at Randy like, damn, you got the cutest white butt I've ever seen next to Steve Nash. This fucking.
Anyway, speaking of crazy ass white boys, Cade Kilgore, with his collar popped so high, he looks like Iron Fist here.
Yeah, the old costume. Yeah.
So Cade Kilgore reveals like, haha, I set it all up. The Sentinels were because of me. Quentin Quire getting out of containment on Utopia because of me. And then I just manipulated him because Quentin Quire's a dipshit. Quentin Quire, Omega level power, pea-sized brain.
Yeah, dumb as fuck.
And so Cade,
dumb as fuck.
yeah, just all the time. Cade Kilgore assumes the seat of Black King of the Hellfire Club. I forgot the Sebastian Shaw. Not only is Sebastian Shaw not around right now, Sebastian Shaw has amnesia and joins Hope's team. It's
cool. Yeah, I remember this angle. Yeah, that was a good little thing, I guess. Now he's an asshole again in X-Men. He's selling Kitty in the slave trade or some bullshit.
No, he tried to drown. Oh no, he did drown Kitty.
Yeah, that's right. He killed her.
Yeah, and then Kitty comes back and whoops his ass.
Yeah. Oh, fucking, I love Kitty Pryde, man. They need to make her the biggest star in the world.
Yeah.
I hope when the movie comes out, that's a character, like, when the X-Men come in the MCU, that's like, the character everyone likes.
So, issue 2 opens with... Well, I want to touch on the cover here, because like you said about Emma in the last issue, same thing can be said about Rogue here. Why are her titties doing that on the cover of this issue?
There's an inconsistent pair of titties because sometimes they're the only thing you could see, and sometimes they're just they're okay.
They're there.
Job,
sometimes
right?
she's a person with normal proportions.
Yeah, something you could see walking around on the street, and sometimes she's what she is in this cover. And again, I think her boobs are bigger than Colossus's head on this cover. So
her. Listen, not to sound crude, not to sound like a fucking freak here, but Rogue's titty is the size of Colossus's shoulder.
It is.
It's legit. No. Like,
she looks jacked as fuck here, though. She looks
looks fucking ripped, but like
she's on the January steroid cycle. Like, she knows what's coming up here.
Getting ready for Mania, brother.
She's working out with Bulldog here. Like, she looks great.
I'm just getting
crazy.
Yeah, I'm just in the middle of a big cut here, hon.
One chicken breast, 2 asparagus. That's how you achieve these gains.
Good God.
Oh no.
So they're chanting "No more mutants" in the streets of I cannot stress enough how fucked up this page is.
This is
again,
tough.
Nondescript Middle Eastern country. Just so and these people are drawn to be just the ugliest.
Yeah, they went hard on making them ugly. There's a dude on the right.
Yeah, that dude on the right. That's just Bald Bull.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, he's real fucked looking. He's got no lip. He's all teeth. There's a lot of guys here who are just all teeth.
Yeah, they all have weird eyes and fucked up teeth. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
If I don't want to know who drew this page, because I would imagine there's some prejudice behind these drawings. It's that's how tough this whole page is to look at.
Yeah, it's a lot. That dude who was talking about Sentinels don't exist is now parading in front of a Sentinel, talking about. He says, "Mutants want to steal our minds. You saw it for yourselves. You saw how they attacked me, how they stole into my brain and forced me to utter their lies. No more, we must say to these genetic infidels. They are unholy abominations, deviations from the right path. Let them remain an American problem. We have never had them here, and now we never will. This holiest of machines, built by our greatest scientists, was designed to defend us against the mutant crusaders. It is the finest mutant hunting machine the world has ever seen, and it will..." Why isn't it moving? "Sir, we're trying, but the machine has been in storage for so long. This is the first time in years anyone's tried to..." "I don't want to hear that. Make it fly. Make it do something." And then it starts smoking. It cuts on. It just starts fucking everybody up.
So the note I wrote for this page was Dan Lambert's promos are getting really weird.
he said Utopia sucks.
No! I got two real men standing next to me. It's the Sentinel.
The Sentinel, but it's just Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page in a trench coat.
It's the Sentinel, but it's just got the shitty kind of Hawaiian shirts Ethan Page always wears and the gold chain.
And it starts yelling about his tits.
Tightest tits in the game. I thought it was interesting how it went from not working to immediately destroying the whole city.
Yep.
Like, it was like it wouldn't turn on, and immediately was like, I have to kill everything.
It's like, all right, now straight up, everybody dies.
Everybody dies. The Lance Archer of Sentinels.
Yeah. So we get back to Utopia, and some students, cool group of students here. We got Hope Abbott, whose codename I forget, but I remember her as the other Hope. Anole, Transonic, and Dust.
Yeah, Dust was a kind of a little bit of a throwback for someone who hasn't read from this era for a little while.
Man,
she was a cool character.
Dust rules. I think the Sandman, but way more metal.
Yeah, a little more angry too.
Yeah,
than just by use of the powers. Yeah,
she flays a bunch of dudes alive in her first appearance. She fucking kicks ass. So
yeah, they don't make them like that no more, man.
They do not build them like this. Soraya Kadir built different. And Wolverine is talking to EDA, and he's like, all you kids stay inside until the trouble dies down. And EDA goes, it's because we're monsters. Like, there's something about her, how, like, totally nonplussed her face is here. She's like, that's why they want to kill us. You can't blame them, really. They have every right to be afraid. And he's like, you are not a monster. You're a 14-year-old girl.
Go play with your doll.
Go play with your doll.
Don't have these big thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that I forgot they do say what country that is. That's in Iran.
Huh.
Huh.
Huh. I don't like it.
I also don't like it. Wolverine's face is fucked here. So they find out the Sentinels are mostly defective. Good little line here. One of the Cuckoos tells Phantom X that he does not have clearance to crash a flying Sentinel into an Italian football stadium.
Oh, yeah, that's a very Phantom X. I didn't even notice that the first time reading it. That's pretty cool.
Phantom X fucking
my people
hates
get a shout out. Every time I'm on something with you, my people get a shout out a little bit in some way. Last time was the player advantage. We were talking about the Dragon Quest 11 town.
Yeah.
That had the very offensive accents. And this time it was someone, Phantom X was trying to ruin a City match between two shitty teams that I wouldn't care about. Piss off my grandfather on a Sunday when the screen goes black. What the fuck happened?
The Hellfire Club basically want to get rid of all of the... They want to scrub their history of all the mutants that have been in the Hellfire Club and held positions of power. Meaning Shaw, Emma, Lord of Chantel, Jean, Celine... Weird how you're like, that brief period. It's like, there were a lot of fucking mutants in here.
It's most of the history.
Most of the history that people care about. It's mutants. So Cade Kilgore is going to be on TV. He's a little prick. We get introduced briefly here to the new kids that are going to be running with Kilgore. They are total bastards.
Hilarious cavalcade of bastards.
Yeah, just like, think of the most fucked up children that you've ever seen in your fucking life.
It's funny when Club. Later in the issue when they introduce, or later in the story when they introduce like why they are the way that they are, it's like, I don't think there were different decisions you could have made than especially because a lot of X-Men characters are always going to be young. It's based on a school, your powers trigger with puberty, right? Like a lot of kids are these are 9-year-olds. These are single digit age children. Like these are young motherfuckers.
Was it like Kilgore's 11 or 12, I think?
Yeah. Like they are young, and they are just like, we are going to be billionaire, genocidal, homicidal, suicidal, Sabu, just all day.
Kilgore gives somebody an Arabian press. Does a fucking triple jump moonsault.
The girl with the pigtails doing the point every time she does something like that.
So, that fucking Iranian prime minister or whatever the fuck, after Rogue saves them from the Sentinel, he says, "What is this? The X-Men have sent their women here just to humiliate us." And Kitty leans down at her and goes, "Oh, we're not looking to humiliate anybody. We're just here to help. The fact that we're all women, well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Did I happen to mention I'm also Jewish?" What the fuck?
I wrote down Reddit. That's the only thing I wrote down for this page.
I wrote down, do I hate Jason Aaron?
I can answer that question for you. I don't always like him, but yeah, this page was, very 2011. Yeah, I think this probably was like praised at the time, and I don't know if it would be now.
Yeah, we see some more X-Men fighting these Sentinels. Betsy and Warren are stabbing one's eyes out. Domino is trying to save some people. Storm and Dazzler are fighting some in the desert. I think we kind of understate how fucking strong Dazzler is.
Yeah, Dazzler's so cool. Her costume's great here too. This Dazzler and Storm costume are usually the ones, like, when I picture them, this is what I picture them in.
I could do without the pussy starburst, but
No, I love the pussy star. Pussy star is the love of my life. That's my heart. Dude, nothing's cooler than just like, this is where my genitals are. No one else has anything like that. No one else has anything like that. You got to be different, man. And she's got the titty window too. Like, she's like Kane. Imagine if Kane had.
Kane should have always had a titty window. Let's be real.
Kane always should have had a titty window and then like fire where his dick was. Imagine how much cooler he'd be.
2001 Kane when he was big as fuck.
Yeah,
with the titty window.
2 chicken breasts, 1 asparagus as fuck with the titty window and fire crotch.
His burned little wiener.
Hey, I love your dick.
That stack of times you call a penis. So anyway, Logan again wants to go after Choir. And he's like, those kids out there ought to be in school, not having to worry about no mess like this. That's Choir's doing. And so Scott and Logan are trying to talk about it. Emma keeps trying to get their attention, and then they look, and Choir's here looking fucked.
He couldn't look uglier.
He is ugly as sin here.
This is fucking. The hair is scuffed. He's all teeth. Frank Cho drew this issue, and like, when he wants someone to look ugly, he'll fucking get them there. And the way he'll do it is with the teeth. He is teethed out of his mind here.
Also, Logan looking wild vascular here.
Yeah, he's thick and veiny.
He's so big, pal.
He's so big. Release him.
Look at the vascularity. You're drinking a lot of water there, son. Yeah. Oil him up. Send him out there. We're going to put the guns on him. How do you like the sound of being a European champion?
Well, it's funny you mention that because of the whole, like, him really wanting to get out there and work. I just want to work, brother. I just want to work. I wrote, Wolverine is Bryan Danielson.
Oh my god, if they had got Danielson in 97, he absolutely would have been European champion. Like, take present day Danielson and put him in a point in time when that belt exists. That becomes the Danielson belt.
Yeah, he would never let it go. He would do kind of what, like, a lot of guys did at that time, where they just made the title their gimmick, and he would make the title his gimmick.
Yeah, he'd be walking around with a fucking beret.
He would do a shitty accent.
Yeah.
He'd be great at that. Oh, fuck, that's a good idea.
So the little girl who's with these Hellfire dicks is looking at this. It's a Badoon brain slug. She keeps calling it a kitty. And these aliens are like, we're gonna fucking harvest your organs, and then they murder these guys. She has a lightsaber.
Yeah, they lay it on thick with her that she's a little crazy. She had a little lightsaber. She had a few like other weapons too.
But she not only does she have a lightsaber, she holds it like fucking Starkiller.
Yeah, she also took it out of her little pink purse. Which
yes,
was cute.
her little Versace bag.
Yeah, it didn't even. See, that's the thing. It didn't even look like it was an expensive bag. It looked like one that you would give a 9-year-old just to pretend.
She got it in Claire's.
and she's holding like it's $50, not even is
Full of
$12 Polly
weapons.
Pocket accessory. Yeah, full of futuristic weapons as well that eviscerated 12-foot tall aliens.
Yeah, she's sitting there covered in this thing's blood. It's gnarly. You
Yeah,
see an
she was,
eyeball
really-
get popped?
Yes, yeah, you do. Yeah,
Cut back-
she fucked them up. She did a good job. I'm
beat
proud
the
of
shit
her.
out of them. Yeah, my note for the next page is Choir looks like such a little puke here.
Yeah, man.
Logan wants to turn him over to the Avengers. Scott wants to keep him there so they can judge him by mutant standards. And he's like, call Steve Rogers. And Emma's like, Steve Rogers is already calling us. This is a particularly handsome Steve, I should say.
Yeah, so Frank Cho wants to draw someone ugly. He shows teeth. You want to show someone handsome, draw them jawline, mostly jawline, no teeth at all. Steve looked tremendous here.
Yeah.
I was stunned for a moment.
Yeah. I turned to it and I was like, fuck. This is exceptional.
The use of Cap here is also cool because the note I wrote for this page is why is Cap everyone's principal?
I mean,
And-
that's yeah. That's what
But
he
like
is.
when you want to get someone in trouble, right?
You call
and Captain
Cap.
America doesn't know about it, right? People automatically want to say, "Hey, you got to take it to this kid." And this is a point for Wolverine here. They probably should have given Quentin Quire to the Avengers because he didn't commit a mutant crime. He committed a crime against everyone else, and I think everyone else should probably.
Right. But
deal with that
Cyclops'
problem.
point of view is he is a mutant who committed a crime. Therefore, we should take
but
it.
then again, we should deal with a jury of the peers while it already hasn't worked and it keeps not working. Like from what I do for a living, which is working with kids who struggle with stuff like this. I mean, like I definitely am Scott here. That's my job is to be forgiving. However, none of my kids have caused like mass extinction events, so I think I'd be a little less forgiving.
Yeah. And so they lie to Cap here. Logan doesn't like it, but he goes along with it because he's whatever, Summers, you're in charge. And he's like, look, we don't want to fucking deal with the Avengers right now. Give it a year. And Quire starts to mouth off, and Scott tells him to eat shit. He says, "You're not worth it. You're a child playing at Revolution. You needlessly put lives in danger. You made the world less safe for all of us today, and you will answer for what you've done, I assure you." Quires like, "I expose the truth. The truth you were all too afraid to even..." He said, "If I have to tell you again to shut up, I'll have you transferred to a cell in Atlantis, where I assure you, their definition of cruel and unusual is significantly more lax than ours. And if I ever hear of you belittling Wolverine again, I will personally break you in half. Pray every day, Quentin, that you will someday be even half the man he is. Because as it stands now, I wouldn't take 6 of you on your best day for one of him on his worst. Now get the hell out of my sight." And then Emma
Very
makes him
Captain America speech.
yeah. Then Emma makes him shit his pants on his way out. Which
Next time there'll be blood involved was the threat
Yeah.
that she left him with as he's sitting in his own poop.
great use of Emma, frankly. Great use of psychic powers is making someone shit themselves.
Yeah, the kind of speech here kind of makes, when the way he talks about Wolverine, it kind of makes the whole, like, their whole relationship so upsetting and the way it ends and the way the story ends.
Yeah,
Like,
because
fuck.
Scott
And these two
does-
fuckers love each other.
Scott and Logan do genuinely love each other. There's a
Yeah.
genuine love and admiration between the two of them.
And they've worked on it for so long because, like, this is what made this story when it was happening so compelling to read because, like, you were hoping it didn't
That they'd
happen
fix it.
because they had just gotten together basically. They had just they're at this point it's a few years of like the current Marvel like shakeup, which was New Avengers, Secret Avengers, X-Men, X-Force, and they're in Utopia. They're not New York now. Like there was these like it was very like everything was in a box, and it was really really easy to get into comics around this time. And the X-Men box was like really good because they literally put everybody together. Like all the enemies around this time weren't really mutant or Earth based. It was a lot more space stuff. It was a lot of espionage shit like that. And so the Cyclops Wolverine relationship was like really cool to see. Finally, everyone's two favorite characters. Now you don't have to pick a side anymore. And then they immediately go into this. It made for compelling storytelling, really.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating thing to do is to put these two characters, instead of at odds, just together and working on the same page. And they still have their differences, but their differences make both of them better instead of just being this, which one of them is always right kind of thing.
Yeah, it was two people. It was really like teammates. It was really
Right.
pushing rivals, but in the sense of like they're pushing each other to be better, but they're actively friends. They
Want the
like,
same thing.
Yeah, they're. It's good that they're in each other's lives, as opposed to these are two guys who are kind of like making the environment hostile, and one of them has to
Scaring
win
the
every
host.
conversation they have. Yeah, exactly, and all that stuff. Like there was all this stuff that was sort of going away with them. And it was cool to see if you were a fan of both characters and you weren't someone who wanted to pick a side.
Yeah. So Logan goes to a bar while Scott sends a delegation to the San Francisco Museum of Mutant History, which is a neat thing that exists. And so Wolverine looks at the screen and he's like, "Peace delegation? You sent Emma, Piotr, Magneto, Bobby, and Namor."
Colossus is loving the fuck out of the red carpet, by the way. The only one smiling.
Yep.
A genuine smile. Emma's got her little shit-eating grin with her
Yeah.
Binglers all out on the red carpet. She looks better here than she did in the first issue.
But that little X that's holding her cape on is holding on for dear life.
That thing's crying. Real tears there. That thing's barely alive, and God bless for it. I wrote the museum is WWE propaganda. I can't remember why. But
What?
I don't know, because you know what it was when Emma talked about how often she was in the next issue. She talks about she's only in there 4 times. It started to make me think about the kind of exhibits Scott Summers and Charles Xavier would allow to be shown, and what exhibits also the American government would allow to be shown if they were sponsoring this. And it made me think that it would be a very washed,
very sanitized.
Very sanitized. Like we were friends, but now we're not, but we're friends again, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, like there's no mention of the Hellions in this
No,
museum.
there's probably not a lot of stuff about the first Krakoa one. There's probably not a lot of stuff about the several genocides. Probably Magneto's in there like one time. It's like he is also a mutant. No real bio on him.
Yeah, I'm sure Genosha is mentioned, but they don't mention that Genosha used to be an apartheid state.
You think they would talk about it?
I think Genosha getting blown up, they'd talk about, yeah. Because it's like a horrible.
If you're
thing
trying to propagandize about,
you can talk about the. Oh, if you're talking about human relationships, you don't talk about fucking Genosha.
Exactly. So that's what it is. That's the WWE propaganda. That's the Vince McMahon Museum of Mutant History.
Yeah. Also, those students from before are here. Anole, Lori, Hope, Dust, and EDA. And also, these little twerps are here being twerps. And they're like, all right, the new age of the Hellfire Club begins now.
Yeah, there was a lot of very pro wrestling stuff. I know you and I are pro wrestling fans, so obviously it was going to cut, but there was a lot of like pro wrestling stuff in here in general, especially with the way the Hellfire kids talk, because they're corny little baby kids, and that's how corny little kids talk. It's like they're doing a wrestling promo.
Yep. Issue 3, I want to make love to this cover. I would take this cover out to a nice dinner. This cover fucks so hard. It's so good.
Yeah, I've always liked like kind of like painted covers that like look like they're telling a story about the issue as opposed to just
lying about the issue.
That's a very Marvel thing to do, and I find DC does a lot more where it's like if the cover is Superman fighting a bunch of goons, he's probably going to fight a bunch of goons in that issue, right? Marvel will have a cover where like Human Torch and Spider-Man are like staring each other dead in the face, and Human Torch won't appear once, right? So I like that, especially for an issue where it's like you really have to sell the story, for them to have the cover be about exactly what happens in the issue. It was a cool call upon them, and it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Yeah. Everyone on it looks beautiful. Even the faceless henchmen look like perfectly drawn, and they're terrifying. There's a real energy coming off the cover.
Yeah, like the Iceman. He's like glowing, and you can see the chill coming off of him, which is cool. Also, do you prefer Iceman when he is all white, or do you like Iceman when he's kind of blue?
I like all white because I think it's there's blue X-Men. I always think the color stands out more when he's white, like more modern stuff where he's like even fringing on silver. I prefer that.
Yeah, Because here he just looks like he is made of snow, which is awesome.
It's cool.
Which, remember, the original Jack Kirby design for him is he's a little snowman.
Yeah, that's right. I always like when you go read like the first like 10 issues, and he's like, oh, he looks cute. Like he looks not threatening at all.
Yes.
Angel has little flute wings coming out of his back, and he still looks more threatening than little comfy snowman.
Yeah. So the they're at the museum. That's where Emma's like, can you believe there's only 4 mentions of me in this entire fucking building, and 3 of them call me a villain?
I can't think of how much good shit would be about Emma at this point in her life, though. Like, she was villain, and then Hellfire villain, and then like political espionage, horrible person.
I mean, Emma flipped sides at this point, like 15 real world years ago. Like, she's been in terms of publication, she's been good longer than she's been bad at this point. Because she was running in the 80s, she ran the Massachusetts school with the Hellions, and then they had a truce with the X-Men and would just help each other out.
I was thinking more like, okay, but like, yeah, okay, so maybe that's the positive thing about her, but like in terms of impactful human mutant stuff, her to be mentioned 4 times is great.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. That's an honor, because again, what we were talking about, a very sterile museum, this probably is. And I just can't imagine there would be a lot of good shit to talk about in terms of putting her in a museum. But yeah, the school will be a good point. I guess she's been in X-Men for long enough. The Avengers always hate her whenever she fucks with them, though. And like at this point, the Avengers are top shit.
Yeah. So we get some telepathic interference localized to the building. So now Scott can't talk to Emma. They're all cut off. And it just gets bad real fast. We get the flashback of seeing months ago the introduction of the 4 new members of the Hellfire Club, or the 3, the kids. So Cade Kilgore, Manuel Nduke. I have a problem with this kid.
Yeah, I was wondering what your thoughts were going to be on him. I didn't write a note for him, but I'm just like, talk about the first kid. In my notes here. Yeah, what a backstory. Do you want to go into it?
I mean, so Manuel Nduke is the son of one of the richest families in the Eastern Hemisphere, a wealth built on the backs of slaves from the days of his great-great-grandfather, one of West Africa's most notorious slave traders, to today, when your family sells humans by bushels in a dozen different galaxies. They made a little black slave trader. What the fuck?
Yeah. Okay, so to talk about this creatively before we get into the actual like storyline of this kid, that is a fucking choice by them. Eh? They could have done so much. They're
like, all right, what's the most evil thing we can think of? A fucking 10-year-old black child whose family has been selling people into slavery for generations, and also recently sold his 7 older brothers, into space slavery.
Yeah, that's also an interesting reality they set up, that human slavery is not only very, alive and happening, but it also is interplanetary. Yeah. It's an interesting world they set up. Has to be the most unlikable non-superpowered character Marvel's ever introduced, right?
Yeah, like, this kid is evil as shit. The next kid is Baron Maximilian von Katzen whatever. He's from
Katzenelnbogen.
Katzenelnbogen. He's the youngest student ever admitted to the University of Munich, considered a true scientific prodigy, at least until the academics deemed his methods most profoundly unsettling. Not surprising, really, given his family history. Von Katzenbolgen isn't his true ancestral name. No, that would be Von Franken, and then he gets cut off. That's fucking Frankenstein's great-great-grandson.
In the Marvel Universe, Frankenstein, the novel, was a nonfiction book.
Yes!
Mary Shelley wrote a nonfiction book about something she actually saw happen.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Mary Shelley, maybe the most metal human being who's ever lived.
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome.
Just
Mary Shelley podcast next episode.
Yeah, just an episode talking about Frankenstein. That's just secretly just fucking talking about Mary Shelley, because Mary Shelley is just so fucking sick. And then Wilhelmina Kensington. Upon the recent suicide of her mother, hotel entrepreneur Lenore Kensington, her entire estate was left to her 37 pet cats and her 11-year-old daughter, Wilhelmina, a beauty pageant and martial arts enthusiast.
So, being a
who is
pageant
murdering
mom,
a cat, who just murdered a cat.
Yeah, that was something. So like, yeah, they're like, okay, this character's backstory isn't likable enough. Let's have her instantly kill a cat.
Yeah. Mr. Farnsworth didn't like to be tickled, so I made his head all squishy. Now he doesn't mind. What the fuck?
So, she, all right, she's looks a lot like Alexa Bliss. Like,
that's Lily.
This is the Fiendette, and the cat is Lily. Whatever you want to say, maybe she is Lily. Yeah, that's a good point
the
too.
evil is hers.
Yeah, that was the way she dressed. And the pigtails. I'm like, oh fuck, it's goddamn Alexa Bliss. This chick follows me everywhere.
Everywhere I go, I see her.
Everywhere I go, I see her face, straddling Randy Orton's face.
Fuck,
ruining a pay-per-view in the Orton household. Imagine Orton's kids around the TV and their mom is just like on the phone, just typing furiously. They don't know what's going on.
Randy not looking at his phone.
Whoever's locker's next to Randy Orton just the fuck did he do?
They hadn't been watching the monitor, they were catering. Anyway, the little bastards bust in and they go to fight the X-Men. Namor is so pumped up to beat some kids.
I've hit children before was the
yeah, it's the exact line. He says, I've hit children. Cracking his knuckles. I've hit children before. Also, Namor looking real jacked, baby.
The X-Men are a beautiful bunch of people, though. Oddly, like, for a very fringe percentage of the population, they're all gorgeous. There's not an ugly X-Men except for Quentin Quire.
Yeah.
Even Charles Xavier's a handsome man.
Yeah. Namor... Was Namor, like, hitting the free weights at an exhibit? Because that's a fresh pump.
Yeah, he was doing push-ups as this was happening, and they got up just in time to say this line.
He said, quick pump for the girls.
Quick pump. It's just a little bicep curl, just so my t-shirt fits better. Just a little bicep curl, just so it looks better. Just so it looks better. I'm gonna go see the pretty girl. You know, just a little bicep curl. Won't hurt nobody.
Oh shit. There we go. So the kids that are there they get separated. Cyclops on his jetpack, which I forgot he had when I did the AVX episode, but Cyclops is racing there on his jetpack. Wolverine steals somebody's car.
Yeah, Wolverine just commits a crime.
Wolverine commits Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, I guess he could have done that because he had Avengers clearance, so he wouldn't.
Oh yeah, he totally is like, I'm commandeering this.
He works for the government.
He works for S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, he can totally do that.
Yeah, good for him.
So I should say Scott does turn over command of Utopia to Dr. Nemesis.
There was no one else on board.
There's no one else there. Wolverine's not there.
Unstable.
Yeah, who's responsible here? Like, I would love to see the Krakoan, or not Krakoan at this point, but the Utopian, like, chain of command. So it's like Scott, Logan, Emma, Magneto.
Well, because their doctor was on board the ship. The I forget the name of the doctor now, but she treats
Cecilia Reyes.
The X-Men who return. Yeah, she treats the X-Men when they return from the museum. Why would you give it to him? Why wouldn't you give it to her? She's also a mutant. That was such a very dangerous choice by him.
Let's give it to Dr. Nemesis.
It's a horrible choice.
So they're on their way there. They're trying to get there in time, but Colossus gets hit in the face with that fucking brain slug. Then they have something with fireballs at Namor that just stop him dead in his tracks, and they kick his ass. Emma is fighting this little girl, and she says, I hope I die before I get as old as you."
I say that to people 2 years older than me sometimes. It's one of my favorite lines in the world.
And Emma in her diamond form, is like, I can make that happen whenever.
I will kill you, and I want to kill you. That's Emma said that, and it was she was really about it in this whole show, this whole series. These 5 issues was Emma wanting to commit murder to anybody, just somebody.
I gotta kill somebody today, brother. Emma looks like a fucking Bond girl here, I should say. Like the way her face is drawn. Very Dr. Honey Rider. So then Emma gets hit with one of those. Like, basically everybody gets busted up with that brain slug, except Magneto, who gets shot with a with miniaturized neutron stars, marble-sized magnetars, the most powerful magnets known to man, and they shoot it inside Magneto, and it just fucks him up. And then they give him a brain slug.
Yeah, he gets brain slugged even though he didn't have to get brain slugged. They did that.
They did that
for symmetry. And again, this is the Hellfire Club, and they do a lot of traditional stuff, and they do a lot of stupid bullshit. So just for the thematic symmetry, yeah, all 5 of the X-Men got a brain slug.
Also, the students all get taken down, which the idea of somebody taken down... How did you have a plan for Dust?
Yeah. They didn't show it at all, too.
Yeah, they just all get taken down. That might get explained in the Generation Hope tie-in. But how do you have a plan for the girl whose power is turning to sand?
And who also wants to kill. Again, Emma Frost. A lot of the ex-women like to kill and want to kill.
Student of Emma Frost's, by the way.
Yes.
There's no qualms with killing in self-defense. The only one still active inside the building is EDA. And Scott asks what happens, and Logan tells him to get out of the building, and he's like, Scott, I can get there in time, I can handle this. And Scott is not pressing her or prodding her here, he's just going, tell me where everyone else is. And she's like, everyone else just got their asses kicked. Fucking grimy little Cade Kilgore, who looks like all of the kids from Stranger Things at once, says, I haven't had sex yet, so maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine feeling better than this.
Yeah, he had the biggest shit-eating grin when he's talking about not fucking. Like, the only person to look that confident talking about not fucking yet. Like, God bless him.
Listen, you ask any 12-year-old. Hang around. If you have a friend who has a middle school age kid, just hang out at their house for like 10 minutes.
You'll hear something
fucked up. This is on that list.
I always say if you watch a kid under 12 for long enough, they're either going to do something profoundly fucked up or profoundly stupid.
Or both.
Yeah, sometimes both at the same time. And every single time someone gets hurt and you have to take 3 seconds to turn to the wall and laugh before you got to go up to them like, hey, you okay, buddy?
But like, I remember being in middle school, and I don't think anybody when I was in middle school would have said something like, man, I don't fuck.
I fuck, but this is awesome.
Like, just one thing I know about, just from my experience of having once been a 12-year-old child, is that 12-year-olds will lie about having had sex.
See, that would be something. See, that this is a very Marvel movie thing to do, but that would be funny if the whole time he's like, "But I've also definitely had sex."
I've definitely had sex. Just lying.
I mean, I know what it's like with when you move the parts together, and it like, feels great. But this is better.
No, Wilhelmina, you don't know her. I met her at camp.
Yeah, you don't know her. She lives in Canada. Wolverine.
Cade Kilgore lies about his girlfriend in Vancouver. His girlfriend in Saskatchewan.
Go Riders. It's the CFL team out there.
Yeah, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
Yeah, not to be confused with the Ottawa Rough
Ottawa Rough Riders, yes.
Which don't exist anymore, but there was 2 Rough Riders in the Canadian Football League at one point. And God bless this country. I don't want it to ever change. Just so polite. Neither one of them wanted to sue. The other one is awesome.
So then there's a bomb that gets planted, and or what appears to be a bomb. Logan is pleading with Scott to tell EDA to leave, and he's like, get out as fast as you can. And she's like, Scott, she's like, Mr. Summers, I don't know what to do. Can I try to stop them? And he says, look, I'll be honest, we're not gonna make it in time. You got to make this call. Do what you feel you got to do. And EDA, I should say, EDA's powers are are fire and ice together. It is specifically, I think it's creating heat and getting rid of heat. So she kills like a dozen guys. It's crazy.
Yeah, she runs through every single non X-Men in there gets just not alive very quickly, like right away, almost easy. It looked the thing that made it look difficult for her was kind of just getting out of the burning building, but actually she dragged like some people out there. Like she made this very easy to solve this problem.
And then she passes out. Scott and Logan run away. They're like, "There's a bomb!" And then the fucking Hellfire kids. Again, it's like evil Stranger Things. Like
They're giggling.
The kids are running away in matching jackets, giggling.
It's not even a laugh or a cackle. It's giggling. They're like
Cade has
their
his
faces
hand
are like little smiles.
Yes, Cade has his hand over his mouth.
Oh my God, Cade, you're so bad. Like that's what this was.
Like they're doing shit behind the teacher's back. Like,
oh my God, stop.
Cade, you're so funny.
You're so funny, Cade. Oh my God, do that again.
And they're like, Logan's like, you son of... He calls Scott a son of a bitch. He's like, she killed a dozen men in there. That's on you. And he's like, were there any civilian casualties? And he's like, then she also... there were no civilians that got killed, so she saved 100 lives. He's like, she should have never been in that position, Slim. And it's like, you're right. That should have been you, but you were fucking at a bar pissed off because I wouldn't let you kill Quentin Quire.
Yeah, I wonder what's like. That seemed to be a little bit posture. And there's a few times where Scott says stuff that I don't think he truly believes, and he gets progressively more dishonest as this series continues.
But he's
I don't think he would have
like,
sent Wolverine to that museum though.
No, I think he wanted Wolverine to go because he wanted Wolverine.
Did they say that explicitly?
I don't think they say it explicitly, but I think he either wanted Wolverine to go or he wanted Wolverine to be on Utopia with him.
Okay, I do remember them discussing that he should stay on Utopia. Yeah, well, okay, and that goes back to Scott Summers is always right. This fucker, he even tricks me, who's like a vehement follower of him. That's right, because then we talked about Dr. Nemesis, who would have been the next command. Wolverine probably would have gone, but it would have been Wolverine. That would have been the other senior X-Men on Utopia.
Right. Scott probably would have gone in his place then.
God damn it, this guy's right about everything. Holy shit.
And then the bomb goes off, and then grabs every piece of metal in the area. It turns into a giant fucking sentinel.
This is so fucking cool.
Yes.
What a cool like reimagining of the Sentinel. Like it's blows up and then everything around it. Like it causes destruction to rebuild for the purpose of causing more destruction. Great concept, looks cool as fuck. That's such a good use for the Sentinel weapon.
Yeah, what a... Bolivar Trask, in his wildest dreams, would have never conceived of a sentinel that just keeps making itself.
No, it was so cool. It's so cool. Like the design. It's something to see. It's awesome.
Also, this is peak Logan looks like Hugh Jackman here.
Yeah, there was a point in time where they just gave up on trying to make him look different, and now they've gone around where now he looks nothing like Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, but I swear to God, Hugh Jackman wears this exact thing in X-Men 2. The flannel with the sleeves rolled up with the tank top that stops like in the middle of his chest. He's built like Miro here.
Oh man, God's favorite mutant, Wolverine.
God's favorite mutant? Oh, that's a great idea, actually.
That's sick as fuck. That's your first t-shirt, bro.
The Redeemer.
The Redeemer would be, the idea that there's that's Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's kind of the Redeemer, right? Everything he does is for the glory of God and his wife, Storm, sometimes.
Exodus, also.
Yeah.
Exodus was literally a crusader.
Yeah. He was, wasn't he? That's so much I'd forget.
Yeah, I mean, they don't try to hide it, but it's like, they don't mention it often that, like, hey, he was party to one of the biggest atrocities in human history.
Yeah, they do that a lot with the old characters too. Well, they do it with a character here whose grandfather was part of the African slave trade. Like they do that a lot.
Yeah.
They're like historically like, okay, look, we have to introduce this character, but we want people to hate him right away. So let's just say he was part of something horrible, but something horrible thousands of years ago. So
Well, yeah, it's like
yeah,
the Red. I mean, like the Red Skull. You can't do a redemption arc with the Red Skull.
yeah. Well, the Red Skull. See, the difference with Red Skull is that people still remember or are alive to remember what he did.
Yes.
With Exodus, no one survived what Exodus was doing. They're all gone by now.
Right.
Little bit easier to do that. Red Skull is like the exception because like, well, it's the Holocaust and it's the tragedy that people are still alive to remember. With the Crusade, it's like, yeah, this is in the history books, right?
Boom, boom, different era.
The most boom, boom, different era, boom, boom.
So they get back to Utopia, and he's like, "I smell like burned skin."
She's in her costume now too.
Yeah, inexplicably, she's now in her costume.
They're very chill upon arriving back. This is like a much more relaxed thing. The third issue ends, and you think it's going to be a little more fired up, and they're kind of no urgency in this team right now.
I think there's a Generation Hope tie-in after that issue where we see more, and that would explain the difference here. And so EDA's like, I killed all those people. She's like, Scott's like, look, that's on me, okay? You saved people. What happened? Those people dying is my fault, not yours, okay? And she's like, no, I'm not sorry I did it. I just wish I could stop hearing them scream. This kid is fucked.
My note here was fuck, ow, fuck, ow.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the last time and the first time that, that she says stuff like this where like she is just full of so much pain. This poor girl, like run through it from the start. She's only 14. Like it's fucking miserable. Some of the shit that happens to her. It is such a easy character to get behind because she's so embattled.
Yeah. I have a note for this issue, which I forgot to touch on before now. But the note is all caps Alan Davis. Alan Davis, fucking godlike artist.
Yeah.
Like one of the best ever. And I'm so glad they got him to come on and do this. Because this shit, the art here fucking rules so much.
I like when they do a different artist per issue for miniseries and stuff like that. I always think that's like a cool way. If you're going to do a big event that's like tie-ins and stuff, I think it's cool to have a different guy, especially when you get someone as talented. Even if it's for one issue as Alan Davis to do something, it'll help it enhance it, makes it feel like a big deal.
Yeah. So Wolverine is trying to fight this fucking self-regrowing Sentinel with the help of Dr. Nemesis and Madison Jeffries. I need these two dicks in like a 4-issue miniseries just hanging out.
Yeah.
Just doing whatever the fuck. Because they just seems hilarious. So Madison's trying to talk to it telepathically, and he says, or technopathically, rather. He says, it's all muscle and no mind. It's got the brain of a toaster inside the body of an aircraft carrier. And to himself, Dr. Nemesis thinks, sounds like my ex-wife.
Just can't turn it off. Like it's another very X-Men and X-Men adjacent thing. If you're a fucker all the time. Does not matter what's going on.
Dr. Nemesis is a fucker, dyed in the wool.
He's just pure fucker energy. He just that's such a good little line there for no reason and to himself. Because if you can't pop everybody, you have to pop yourself, and that's a very doctrine. That's all this fucked up shit that he does. That's kind of the whole.
He does it to pop himself, yeah.
Yeah, he just pop the boys or pop himself. Someone's getting popped.
They can't take this thing down. Wolverine gets blasted into the ocean. Wolverine's healing factor gets fucking pushed a lot in this series.
Yeah, he gets torn through on Utopia especially too. Yeah, they test that power a lot, and with a good artist to show you that testing as well in Alan Davis.
Yeah. So Scott asks the Cuckoo, "Hey, where the fuck is everybody?" It's like, all right, Pixie, incapacitated by Sentinels. Danny's team is in Iran. Storm was negotiating Sentinel shutdown terms with the Chinese government. And 2 other teams are en route on Blackbirds.
Yeah, Storm was not answering the telepathic calls as well.
Yeah.
Implying that it was either so important that she was ignoring it or that China had blockers, which was a very interesting diplomatic point.
Yep. And so Scott's like, fuck, I gotta fight this thing on my fucking own. And he's just blasting away. He's fucking worn out. And he's like, hey, brace for impact, because this thing is coming. But then Hope shows up with her team plus Dust, Rockslide, and Anole. And Scott's like, all right, we can do this. And Wolverine comes out of the ocean. He's like, fuck no. What are you doing? And it's like, Scott has to explain to Logan, these kids are older than I was when I started doing this. They'll be fine.
But you're fucked up, Scott. See, and this is where Scott sort of starts to turn for me in terms of like I've been saying point Scott for a long time. This is where, like, obviously he has no choice. Obviously there's nothing else that he could do. But earlier in this issue, he stares at a picture of himself, of the original X-Men, a frame picture that's like a big deal. And it's like, it's very clear that he currently hates everything that he's doing, and he just keeps doing it. Yeah. And whether it's like, and again, this is where the story becomes about leadership, where if he just had a little bit more self-awareness to do something, anything else, try to get on the defensive. Instead, it was all about saving this floating ship that, like, you could repair this floating ship, but you can't repair these kids. And on the page, they close up on EDA, and her dead eyes and her just tired expression, and he sees that and he goes, all right, this is perfect. It's like the Eddie Kingston, Brian Danielson promo. Yeah. Right? He's like, I'm on Zoloft, I have depression, and Brian Danielson's like, that's what I like to hear, baby. That's the good shit right there. Oh yeah. Like, EDA is like, I don't want to live, and I hate that I've taken a life away, and he's like, fucking, there we go. That'll make a great athlete right there. It's fucking everything he's doing is
Get that girl a scholarship.
Get her front lines right away. Dead eyes, she's perfect.
Dead eyes, nothing. You're an X-Man.
Yeah, yeah. But there's nothing about this team that should inspire confidence. He's like, all right, fuck yeah, boys, here we go.
Okay, so here's the thing. In Generation Hope
happens to emerge.
In Generation Hope, at this point, the Hope's team has fought big shit before. Like, if anybody, like, Scott and Hope at the very least can handle this.
Yeah, like there was just, it's easy to go. They could have done something else. They literally could have done something else. They could have run away. They could repair the ship.
Which is Logan's point.
Yeah, like, and this is where you start to go like, yeah, like, it's unfortunate that this is all you're left with, and obviously, you want to fight, you want to defend where you are. If you're from the perspective of Scott, you don't want to just leave your home undefended, because
again,
you show weakness like that, right?
But you keep having to do it.
Dude, it's an under-16 softball team you're working with here, bro. You can't fucking have them fight this thing. Like Wolverine just got his ass kicked. What the fuck is Hope gonna do, man? Like, she's gonna get her ass kicked too. Like, it's such a horrifically bad idea, on top of an already bad day of ideas for him. Like, it just spirals out of control for him, and it gets worse in like 2 more pages.
I mean, and Scott's point is, because Scott expands on it. He's like, look, where would we even go? Every country on the globe is now openly armed against us. If we run now, we're always going to run. And we, at the very least, if we stand here and fight, we've got a chance. We leave right now, and we're fucked, is Scott's point of view.
Yeah, and again, this is what makes this series so fucking good. Because it's easy to just go, well, as kids, I have to take Wolverine's side. But it's like, God damn it, Scott is right about everything. Fucker.
Like they are both
he's just so smart. Yeah, they're both right. And it's more like, Scott's got a good rebuttal for Wolverine's sort of morality, right? But at some point, he's putting out like the lowest tier X-Men, and it also happens to be children against a thing that just beat the fuck out of Wolverine.
Yeah. But remember, like, this power set, the combined power set here, they've got more of a chance than Scott and Logan stand fighting it together on their own. Except Anole, who, what are you here for, Anole? What's the purpose of Anole?
Yeah, I know. What are a lot? Well, yeah, and again, they stand more of a chance. It's still how do I put this? It's like more of a like, well, I believe in this team because I've looked in their eyes and I've seen the killer instinct, which literally and figuratively, he just looked in EDA's eyes. She obviously doesn't have it. So even that point of like, that this power set works or this doesn't, like, that all gets moot when they've already established through her phase that they are not up for this, and it's kind of Hope and her hubris, which gets her into trouble a lot, and that's kind of a big thing about her character, is getting all her friends as the charismatic leader into some bullshit that they don't want to be in.
Yeah, sounds like a Summers.
Yeah, there you go. She's related, clearly.
Sounds like Scott and Nathan and Alex and Chris, and if Adam X had friends.
Yeah.
So Logan goes back to his room and opens up a safe that is apparently full of bombs,
which is in his main quarters, like where he lives. It's there's just what he does. There's no other furniture in this room, by the way. You just see
his bed
and a safe and the bomb safe. That's it.
Yeah. So
dudes rock.
r/male living spaces. So Logan comes back. He's like, I tried asking you nicely. I'm not asking anymore, Scott. I'm telling you. Everybody off the island now. I just armed 2,000 pounds of plastic explosives. And when that thing gets close enough, I'm blowing it all to hell. It's over. Go tell Danger and Dr. Rao to start evacuating. Tell them they don't have long. And all the kids fuck off, because what the fuck?
Even Hope listens very well as someone who does not listen very well. She's like, okay, yeah. Bombs? Okay.
Yeah, Logan literally comes out, and he might as well have said, Scott, I'm gonna let you try that one more time. And Scott's like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Even if you manage to blow this one up, there are still 1,000 more out there, and we'll have nowhere to go. What are you doing?
Oh, Scott takes this way too far, like very quickly. Like,
yes, because they're arguing. He says, I'm pushing the button. Walk away, Scott. And Scott looks at him and says, she never loved you, you know.
No reason. Unprovoked. Unprompted. Like, he didn't have to. Dude, that's why
it's the meanest thing he can think of.
That's why your mama dead.
Yes.
That's why your mama dead.
You should have called me a fat ass Kelly Price. It's the meanest thing he can think to say to Logan.
He had no reason to do that. He should not have done that.
He said she never
didn't have to.
And he emphasized never. He's like, she never loved you. You know, you always frightened her. And Logan stops and looks at him for a second and says, and if she was here right now, who do you think she'd be more frightened of?
Which fucking good point. True.
And then they just start whooping each other's asses.
Like, yeah, immediately. And Scott throws the first punch too, or the first shot, which is lasers right away. Like he wanted to fight Logan. I think
Scott rolls initiative.
He just got again, and this is back to this is being about leadership and having a bad day. He's had such a bad day. He's like, all right, I'm gonna beat up my best friend, and that's he just provoked him with the gene line, and then couldn't even do that properly because then Logan comes back with the heat, and then he's like, all right, I'm fighting now.
All right, fuck this guy. Long way. And guys, there is a sentinel approaching. Remember the sentinel? And they're fighting over the trigger to the explosives. And this issue ends with a sentinel holding its hand over them, ready to blast. Which is also the cover of the next issue, which is pretty cool. I like that conceptually.
Yeah, again, Marvel covers usually aren't very descriptive, so this was a cool way to know what you were getting into.
Yep. They dodge the blast from the Sentinel, and Scott tells Logan, if you press that button, you're killing me too. And he says, you're killing yourself. Logan gets fucked up by the Sentinel.
I wrote down here for this fight, this is like The Rock and Kurt Angle and Undertaker, when The Rock and Angle would fight and the Taker would come in and they would just beat up Undertaker.
Yeah, and then go back immediately back to fighting each other.
Yeah, they go back to each other, yeah. Undertaker would always do them triple threats. He would take nothing and just get beat up, and then the other two would fight.
Yeah. Logan gets, like, his whole fucking face is gone here. Like...
Yeah, you see his skull.
Yeah. It gets so to the point where you can see just the adamantium in his skull. The younger generation come back. Hope has just got this giant fucking gun that I'm sure Cable left. Also, side note, I love Hope's cape.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. I love how like the rest of her costume's so pristine and she has a shitty little cape.
Yeah, that I'm sure that Nate gave her when she was a kid. And
Yeah,
she's
it's from her dad. It's a little gift from her dad that she doesn't have to wear. It's probably impractical. Doesn't work with the rest of her shit, but she still wears it because it means something to her. It's a cool little wrinkle to her character.
Yeah. The Glob Herman is here, which we want to talk about rehabbing characters. Glob Herman also was with Choir at that riot.
Yeah, he was introduced, like it looked like he was like a big deal villain. Right?
Yes,
He's
like an actual white supremacist.
Yeah. I forgot about that actually. Now that you brought that up, that unlocked something in me.
Yeah,
when I like a character, I'll just pretend to forget stuff, and I guess I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was raised by his racist ass dad.
Yeah.
Velocidad is here using his incredibly stupid power, which I will remind everyone is not super speed, but is localized time manipulation around himself to give the illusion of super speed. It's very dumb.
Yeah, it's a little over-explained. Just you could have more than one speedster, I think, in the X-Men.
Yeah, but they wanted
Cyclops
to make
takes his glasses off.
Yes, Scott just takes the fucking visor off and just gives it to it full.
He's raw dogging this fight.
Yeah. Cut to the fucking Hellfire kids just watching from a distance, eating popcorn like little bastards.
Matching goddamn leather jackets. They all look like Finn Balor for no reason. Matching leather jackets.
They look like the fucking T-Birds from Grease.
Dude, they're so fucking guineaed up here. It's awesome. They are like,
they look like the Fawns.
They're full greaser. They're full fawns. One of the kids has like a pompadour. Looks like the Elvis faction from New Vegas. Like there's no reason for them to be wearing these leather jackets. They were not wearing these at the museum. Like
no, I guess these are the jackets they were wearing when they left.
Oh, they ran out and that's right. Okay. It doesn't look like there's a logo on the back of them. They just look like they all got the same really nice leather jacket.
Well, we never see it from behind. I mean, these might just be Tunnel Snakes jackets. Just. Fucking summer loving face ass. So Rogue, Psylocke, and Kitty are on their way back. Emma finally has that thing off her face, and it comes out to see Logan and Hope standing on top of a burning Sentinel.
Yeah, Emma talked all that shit, was about to get into the fight, and then it was already over.
Yeah, bring Scott his glasses. Scott is covered in blood, which I'm assuming is Logan's. And Logan and Scott just look at each other because Logan is standing on top of the Sentinel, and he looks down at Scott, and Scott looks back up at him, and they both just stare while everyone else cheers and hollers.
That moment's probably the last moment where they're on the same team, like before.
Up until
the conversation where they split, like that is the last time they're. Because
they're
on the same side.
They're on opposite sides during Avengers vs. X-Men. Scott becomes Scott as we kind of understand him under Bendis. And then Scott dies during an Inhumans vs. X-Men.
Yeah, he dies very early, and that made me sad and very upset.
Scott dies in Inhumans vs. X-Men, and then is gone until...
What, a year or 2 ago? 2 years ago, maybe? 2019?
Yeah, until right.
There's like an 8-year stretch where they are not friends.
Yeah, they're just not on
in
the
our
same
time,
page.
anyways.
And now they have conjoining bedrooms with Jean now.
Yeah, Jean is in a polyamorous relationship. They are not, but Jean is. Jean Grey has a gorilla grip on the hearts and balls of these two men. And it never goes away. If you're curious, if you haven't read comic books in a while, it's still happening, and it's pretty cool. They live on the moon, and they kind of tag in and out on who's going to be husband one night, who's going to be husband the next, and they look happy, but they also don't. But Jean looks like she's having
a ball.
She's having all of them actually. This could not be a more perfect situation for her. She does not have to choose. She is the centrist of wanting a lot of dick in her life. She gets it all. Howard's decision, but it's working out great for her.
Jean, just at the beginning of like the Krakoa era, Jean has conjoined rooms with Wolverine and Logan and is living on the moon with them, Scott's brothers, and their kids. she's having a great time.
She gets to play mom. She gets to play wife. She gets to play girlfriend. She gets to play mistress. She gets to play sister, sister-in-law. She gets everything
Also,
she could ever want.
That reminds me, I had a conversation with somebody recently, Will, who was on, Will and Manny, who were on episodes 2 and 3 of this show. We were talking about Havoc, because Havoc is in love with Madeline Pryor, who is a clone of Jean Grey. Do you think it's weird?
That tracks.
Do
Yes.
you think their relationship is weird, like
Yes.
Havoc and Jean? Because Havoc recognizes that Jean and Maddie aren't the same person, but Jean has all of Madeline's memories.
It's weird because, like, what is it with the Summers men and this one fucking redhead? There's so many redheads in the world. There's so many people with red hair.
At the very least, Jean or Madeline and Havoc, they kind of bond together over Scott being a dick and abandoning his family.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they can't be cool with each other, but does he have to be involved with her too? Like, can he just, like, okay, this is basically like,
this is my brother's
wife.
Is my brother. Well, that's the thing, is at the time Madeline literally is his brother's wife that his brother abandoned.
He just, can he? Well, I mean, Havoc's whole deal is that he doesn't really make, like, he's the opposite of Scott, where Scott makes good decisions that work out bad. Havoc makes bad decisions that work out poorly. So,
well, I mean, Havoc tries to leave the X-Men how many times?
Yeah, he keeps he keeps
getting
always brings
dragged
them
back
back to
in.
their doorstep, right? Yeah,
He's
kicking
like,
and screaming
yeah.
most of the time. Sometimes as a villain,
He's
sometimes inverted by Doctor Doom by accident.
Me and Lorna are gonna go get our degrees because we're tired of being superheroes, so we're gonna go to college. No, you're not. You're gonna get kidnapped by fucking Magneto and Eric the Red.
I don't
think you will. Magneto said, "I'm gonna let you try that one more time.
I'm gonna let you try that one more time.
I'm gonna let you try that one more time, Alex.
Alex, I told you can't handle the Jean Grey pussy. The Jean Grey clone pussy.
I was saying, Scott talking to Havoc. Alex, I told you couldn't handle clones.
Scott, that clone pussy. You were right. It had me acting different. Please let me back in.
Goblin Queen Coochie got me acting strange. Got me acting unwise.
Got me acting unwise.
So Logan goes to have a conversation with Scott because he talks to EDA and she's like, I'm glad it was me that killed them, the men at the museum, because some of my friends, they wouldn't have been able to live with themselves. But I know I'm a monster, and I know what it means to be an X-Man. And this pisses Logan off. He has to go have a talk with Scott. And
this was probably the conversation that, like he probably was always leaving the X-Men. This is probably the thing that made him say, like, okay, but
yes.
I have to take X-Men. Like, I can't just leave. I have to create something else.
From here, because he, at the start of this story, at the issue 1, page 1, he is very clearly like just so fucking tired. He doesn't want to keep doing this.
He's stretched thin.
Yes,
and this is the thing of all his responsibilities, this is the thing that he seems to like the least. Yeah,
and Scott's like, Logan's like, I don't need to wait to have the conversation with you. And Scott's like, all right, start apologizing whenever. Which, dickhead move, Summers. But he's like, I was right. The kid saved the day. You were wrong. I'd like to hear you say it. And he's like, the kids beat one sentinel. Doesn't change a damn thing. He's like, how can you say that? He's like, what about the next time? Or the next time after that? We keep using them as soldiers. It ain't a matter of if the casualties will pile up, but only when and how damn many. And he's just like, I'm leaving. And whoever wants to come with me is welcome. And so in this first shot of people that go, EDA, Anole, Dust, and Choir, who is tied up and has
he's duct taped as well.
Yep. And so I do know EDA comes back. She does eventually join back up with Hope and everybody else. The little Hellfire dickheads are Some Madripoor maybe. It's unclear where they are. They look
somewhere
like,
where we had served alcohol.
yeah, they look like total jagoffs. They look like Bond villains. It's
Cade's hair is just
yes.
stunning. It's just it hasn't met a comb once in his life.
He wakes up, puts on that little $5 suit.
He just wakes up and walks out the door like, this is perfect. Gets a suit and he's fine. Yep. And he's drinking alcohol and looks like 9 a.m. For some reason, I picture this as being very early in the morning.
Yeah. He says, Logan says, I'll mind your store, Scott. You mind your store, Scott. I'll mind mine. I won't try to stop anything you're doing here. Just don't ever try and stop me. And Scott's like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, because he does. This is where it comes back to leadership, right? And
yeah, it comes back to leadership.
Is hard.
But also, Logan doesn't know fucking anything about running a school. Like, that's why he gets Kitty to come in and do it. Because Kitty knows what she's doing.
Yeah, Kitty Stormer are really the competent ones at that school, and that's a recurring theme in that book, is that he's trying his best, but he's not exactly good at it.
Right. And Scott says, if you ever come to your senses, we'll still be here, protecting a world that hates and fears us, which I guess includes you now too. And so Logan takes a Blackbird and they go back to the destroyed Xavier School, and they rebuild it, and it becomes the Jean Grey School in the event Regenesis.
What did you think of them going back to Westchester?
I love
when this first happened.
I love it conceptually. I love the idea of there being two schools. I do think, because the thing is, the X-Men can't be a monolith. If they are to be the metaphor for any aggrieved, oppressed group, they can't be monolithic in their approach. And there can't be, these are the good ones and these are the bad ones, which had always been the split. These are the people with Xavier, these are the people with Magneto. Or these are the people with Xavier, these are the people with Mystique. What I like best, kind of one of my favorite things, is the point during New Mutants where there are two schools. Where there's the Xavier School and there's the Massachusetts School run by Emma. And it's just two approaches, because if you're a mutant, right, and granted, there are only 200 of them at this point, but if you were a mutant, I think I would like the choice, if I were a mutant. I would like the choice of like, okay, I can go here and have this real kind of almost formal education, or I can go here and I can learn to defend myself a little better. I can go and be around this community. Either way, you get that sense of community, but you're getting two different things, which I think is really, really cool. What about you?
So at the time, I didn't think I liked it, because I a lot of the stuff, I think I disliked it as a I'm big on like, well, stuff has to change, and so I didn't like the idea that they were going backwards a little bit. I knew it was different at the time, but my argument against it was that because there was so few of them, to spread yourselves as thin as it was left them vulnerable, and especially so many of the X-Men at the time and the mutants at the time were kids. They were just so vulnerable, and I was kind of surprised that Wolverine was like, oh, but we'll be different. We'll keep them far away. They'll get combat training. They'll fight when they're ready. Stuff like that. It's like, it was so out of character for him, which ended up being, all the stuff that I just said ended up being why I ended up loving the series and why I thought it was good. I like your point of that they can't be monolithic. There needs to be, there does need to be layers to this, because the X-Men are always going to be an allegory for, oppression and people, facing, sort of hard times just for existing. And so I got all that, but it was like, why would I always question why Wolverine would make it harder for them? He didn't have to make it harder for them. He could have, the whole point of Utopia was that the mutants were unified and they were going to work it out, and they were going to sort of be a force against, the world, really, and do that by themselves, now that they're so low in numbers, and it was a little surprising for me for Wolverine to make that choice. And in hindsight, again, Cyclops was right, because this school kind of crashes pretty hard when it ends, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't go well, but for when it does exist, it was very useful and a very good for the kids who were there. But I remember at the time, once this ended, I was a little disappointed in Wolverine, thinking that while he was right, I agreed with what he said. I didn't like his decision making at the end.
Yeah, I can definitely see that point. But from here, they go off into their two respective series, and then into Avengers versus X-Men, and then all new X-Men for Scott's side after that, which introduces a bunch of new characters, a bunch of new mutants, and then it is interesting to look at this stuff now with the benefit of now having the Krakoa era, because Krakoa is, I think I said this last episode too, Krakoa is kind of the perfect version of Utopia. It is what
Yeah,
Utopia,
it's like a retry.
right? It's a retry of Utopia. It's a retry of Genosha. It's a retry of Madripoor. It's a retry of all these things that have like failed in the past, of having just kind of a united front for mutants. But then within Krakoa, there are so many differing things. There are so many different people doing different things. Because there's the main X-Men team now who are back in New York. But they have a gate there, so they just pop back and forth to Krakoa. There was X Factor, who were, hey, we have to look at these things. We have to investigate these things. X Force, who are essentially the mutant CIA, and the Beast kind of going more insane over time with power. There's the Quiet Council and everything they're doing there with all of their weird inner workings. There's that new group Nightcrawler setting up with Legion. There's so many different things going on, so many kind of like subgroups of Krakoa. There's all the shit going on with the New Mutants, how they're now raising the new generation of mutants, and how like Danny Moonstar and Warpath and Magic and Cypher are now in charge of keeping the young mutants of Krakoa safe and teaching them how to operate within the world. I think that's really, really like a great twist for those characters to take. And I think that this as a means that leads to that is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even yeah, I mean, talking about Krakoa, like it's a totally different society. Like it's a different world. Like they don't function the same. Like the kids aren't going to like class from 9 to 5. They're functioning different. That whole place is functioning different, and it kind of speaks to the point that a lot of people would make about the X-Men, is that, well, maybe they don't fit into this world. Maybe they don't fit into human culture at all. Maybe they're so different that they have to make something of their own. And what's unfortunate about that is that they have to do all that work.
Yes.
They have to sort of fight and claw and reshape society from the ground, literally from the ground up, to create a world where they could just live without being killed every day. And even then, they're still, being attacked. But now, they made being reborn sort of a thing that's explained easily and stuff, so it makes it easier for them. But yeah, it's a lot of sort of the thing that people love about the X-Men was like, well, it's so different from everything else
Right.
that you could read. It's so different. It's laid on thick sort of what the book is really about, and it, thank God for it. Thank God there's no subtext. Fucking tell me what this book is about. Tell me what these characters are feeling and how it works, and then to take something so, and then and anytime they've had a big shakeup, right? Whether it's giant size X-Men stuff, or M Day, or this story, or Avengers versus X-Men, like every time something huge changes, it's what makes the X-Men so endearing and so beautiful, that they survive, and not because they're rich, but because they're resilient. It makes the story, it stuff like this and stuff like big changes and it making sense and it always being sort of compelling is what makes the X-Men so like evergreen, in terms of, you could read it and always get what it's about.
Yeah. I think that's a really good note to kind of leave this on. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we get out of here?
No, I think we talked about everything. We talked about, all the X-Men being good looking. We talked about Scott Summers being right about everything. We talked about they them pussy a lot. So we got everything I think we needed to talk about.
And on that note, that is Pincente. I'm Marcus. I realized I did not introduce myself in this episode, but whatever. You know what it is. My name's in the description.
Everybody knows, wants to know.
Everybody who knows wants to know. You can follow this show on Twitter at MCMF Pod. You can follow me at Archer Arios, ARXHERARIOS. The X is a C. Don't make me explain it. We will be back next week with an episode about, double checking here, Punisher Max.
Ooh, that'll be good.
Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. We got some fun episodes lined up, and so I hope that you will be along for the ride. Please follow the show, subscribe, rate us, review us. Give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Are gonna get out of here. Have a good one.